Feeling this is all old shit that's coming up. I have no idea.
Now, hopefully it'll switch over to the new camera.
Do the.
It looks like it's frozen as well.
Is this camera working? The front-facing camera is obviously working, but we'll have to just switch it around there. And is there still sound? No sound.
Oh, no, I heard something there.
No, it's working. It's coming around.
Working.
Well, it was working before. There you go. Turn it off and on again.
Yeah, I've done that already twice. So, so we're back. Different angle now. You can see the push hook better. But let's get stuck in. I think what we've still got.
Martin Rasputin said we need the Palinkovats. I agree. That is the issue.
I've got the sweats from last night. I can't any more Palinkovats into this body, into this liver. But Tony Topchic, welcome. Newly elected president of Melbourne Knights as of a meeting that was held last Thursday at the Melbourne Croatia Social Club there, soccer club in the Prostoria there. Interesting times. A lot of people have been talking about it. Obviously, everyone's heard anecdotal things. What we wanted to do tonight was to get you into the studio so that we can hear it directly from the club, from the people that are at the coalface, the people that are now running the Melbourne Knights Soccer Club, and to just chat about, first talk about yourself a little bit. Who is Tony Topchic, and we'll go on from there. We'll take some questions, obviously, from the audience if they want to flick anything through. Hopefully, everything's working, and also if there is any, I can see some people that have logged in via that link for the camera link that people want to maybe log in and speak.
Okay,
I can always click on them later on, and I'll tell you who you are. But by all means, Tony, tell us a little bit about yourself. First and foremost, congratulations on your election, the election of the new board at the Melbourne Knights.
Thank you, gents. I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about myself. So, Tony Topchic, Croatian background, or I should say parents are both from Tomislavgrad, and so are my in-laws. So there's 4 of them there, all around from Duvansko Polje, right? Hrvati iz Bosne.
There you go. Like many thousands here in Melbourne. There are many.
Well, there you go. I actually want to bring up something now. Is Tomislavgrad in Bosnia? Where is it? Where is it? Like, I've heard all sorts of different theories. Some are going, some say Hercegovci, some saying Bosanci. I've heard, and I like the theories that Livno Duvno, that's I. That's the Bos Be I.
You know what? If Thompson's mentioning Duvansko Polje in his songs, it's Croatia.
Yeah, well, that's right.
But there are many people from Duvno. We always have a debate, and I think I might have mentioned on that earlier show, between people from around Zadar and people around Tommytown, who is the more numerous. Yeah. I think it's us. Just with Tony here in the audience, I saw a video that was put, a time-lapse video that was done over, when was it, Sveti Nikola, I believe it was, where how many hundreds were there? Just one family. They had the brothers and sisters sat down, the oldies, and then their kids, and then their kids, and then obviously their kids, and they did a time-lapse. It was how many missing? There was about 40 missing. There was probably about 200 people. 200 people in the room. So just them alone, I think, to get us over the line. But again, Tommytown, very proud group of people. And
your drummer's from there. What's his name?
But that's right.
I can't remember his name.
Mojo. His name's Mojo.
Very good. Look, I was born in Melbourne. As a junior, believe it or not, I did play soccer in 1980. Under 13s at Dinamo. Yes, in Churchill Reserve, wore the number 2. I was right back, and I was really crap. There you go.
Yeah, we've already got something in common. I was a right back, and I was outstandingly crap.
Oh, well,
I feel a bit out of
Yeah,
place here because I did play
yeah.
top tier European football. Back in, you can see my jersey there. It's been retired, and they've sent it down here. But again, nije mnogo bez za svakog.
But look, I attended the Olympic Park as a kid, and also Summer Street. Saw all the glory days. I've been a Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club supporter and member and contributor for over 30 years, as have most of the board that are on that are in place now, I should say. In my opinion, should have always stayed Croatia Soccer Club, but that's a discussion for another day.
I was going to ask that question actually. Well, now you brought it up actually. Well, let's talk about it. So obviously, this is something that you feel pretty strongly about, and I have as well throughout the years. I have to admit. Would you, now that you're in the president's, you're sitting as in the president's seat, be open to having an open forum and discussion and vote on whether we return back to the name of Melbourne Croatia?
Look, I'm a traditionalist, and I would like to maybe see that come back. When we were back in the NSL days, to me, it was almost like a mini World Cup each weekend that you've lost now. So the powers that be have taken that away from us, and now we're in a different landscape with soccer, money wise, sponsorship. Even the supporters. Are there too many clubs around everywhere? As everyone settled into their new homes, is the Knights ever going to be back to where it used to be? I mean, these are discussions for everybody to have, not for me to just put my view over. But but if you're asking me, you know what? Yeah, I think Croatia Soccer Club would be lovely.
Yeah, I think it's something that through experience, and I'm not trying to be condescending or whatever with the younger people, but I feel like it's maybe some of the younger generation who don't really care either way, or they feel like the Knights name has some sort of clout to it. But I think maybe some of us that are older and live through that whole forced change and that David Hill era, and just what a disruption he was to football and particularly to ethnic clubs, you sort of go, well, hang on, now we've got the opportunity. What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not like that no one knows that the Melbourne Knights are a Croatian club. I don't know.
Well, look, I suppose that's open to discussion
Yeah.
and open to interpretation. Are we going to get half the people to vote yes, half no? Is that ever going to happen? I don't know. At the moment, our focus is again on where our club is positioned on the ladder right now, and we've got more important things to think about than just the name of the club. So we'd like to think that we can get out of it, the position we're in, and we know we've got a massive mountain to climb.
Yeah, so that was the question we're going to ask next. So tell us about your decision to consider getting on the board. Wouldn't even say mid-season. It's very much at that pointy end of the season. Was it a while in coming? Was it is it something you've thought about for a number of months, a number of years potentially of getting on board? Now, with things like this, when the results aren't going right on the field, and it can accelerate or exacerbate any other underlying problems that may be at the club. And that's the thing that's probably happened here. If you were sitting 6th or 5th or 4th, business as usual.
Yep.
But with currently sitting last, not too far off, but currently, obviously, everything comes to the fore. And you guys have stepped in. There was it a special general, extraordinary general meeting last Thursday? You put a ticket together. People obviously that attended, over 160 paying gold members and corporate members were in attendance. They gave you that vote of confidence. The whole board obviously did step down, so it wasn't an election between two groups.
I think I need to go back to last year where I had the committee of the time. And they did do a good job. I think my opinion is, or my view and everything is, I think they were just not open to extra help. I did speak to Simon Pincic last year about maybe coming on board as a president, or would I be interested in that? Went to the AGM, and Simon was he was good at the AGM, and he did say, look, he'd like to stay on. So there was no problems with him going on from my point.
Yep.
During the year, there was another conversation with Simon that, and I think Simon did mention a few times that, look, if there was someone that wanted to take it on as well, that they would be, I think, welcome to come on board. There were a few personal issues that were going on around the club now that's really not for me to talk about. I mean, I'm trying to be as transparent as we can.
Yeah, no, that's what we're here for.
And then that didn't happen either, I suppose.
It wasn't a particularly easy transition.
Oh, look, it wasn't. There was no malice. There was no anything in there. I think Simon was just maybe wanted a bit of a break. I think I've got nothing against Simon. I've got nothing against the rest of the committee. What's transpired is look, it's I think it's the club of where it is at the moment. And I'm taking a lot of advice. I'm taking a lot of input from a lot of members that have been there, that haven't felt welcome, that haven't felt comfortable going back there, that may have gone to other clubs for whatever reasons. They seem to be a lot of personal reasons as well. So that's probably something that we need to work on as a collective through the social club or the soccer club, Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club, and the Melbourne Knights Football Club. But look, just again to go back, I was asked by Monica to be involved in the government grant funding. Was the money that needed to be put into the hard ground. So that money would have been great to go into the soccer club or the football club, but unfortunately the government wasn't giving us any sponsorship. So that all went into the improvements, and if we didn't spend it, we weren't going to get it. So in all of that, I saw a lot of things that I probably didn't like, and I wasn't really happy with, and it was just maybe a little bit of incohesiveness. Not everyone was on the same page. I felt there was maybe one or two people were making more decisions than other people should have, and that's where I saw some of the problems with the soccer and the Melbourne Knights Social Club. As far as what we were doing with, I'll say with Monica and her team, I think that was fantastic, and we got to a certain point, and that was all done. And I think the final bit of the grant money is coming through shortly. So they've still got a couple of things to finish off over there. And I think, look, once we get that front fence in, there's maybe a stage going in. I don't know if the containers are going in. There's some sponsorship or donations in kind coming in to fit those things out. So how that happens moving forward now for the rest of the year is something that the Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club will be looking out for.
That's good. It's good to hear some positive information coming out of the club in a time that was quite a lot of upheaval, I guess, and it was very topical. No matter where you go, whether you're at a function, a church function, or wherever, just in with your mates, it was pretty much front and centre of everything that we talked about and discussed. And obviously, anecdotally, we hear things secondhand from other people, and then it gets to the next person, and Chinese whisper blows out of all proportion. So, all of a sudden, there's things online.
Which brings me to this point now. So when you talk about Chinese whispers and things like that, this is actual fact, and I don't know if anybody knows this or how many people know this. But look, I've got an established relationship with Monica and her late father for over 30 years. Good family, friends. Nothing ill toward anybody. But when we were doing all these works, I did offer my services, so to speak, to the Melbourne Knights, to the Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club. So that was about, I think that was early April. And then that sort of, look, I think Monica was happy that there was somebody new possibly going to come in, and whether there was going to be a bit of a transition moving forward, and there was a fresh face in that committee. I don't know if I was the right one, but I just, because I was there for so long, working with everything, I saw that maybe this is what the club could use.
Needed, yes.
I'm not saying the saviour of any type, don't get me wrong, but a fresh face in there with some of the people that were talking to me were saying, look, maybe that's not a bad idea. Got into a bit of a personal debate with a few other things. So once I did offer that, there was a comment made if there was a particular person going to come in that I was not welcome. And then that didn't transpire. So we move on to about 3 or 4 weeks later, after I think it was the Dandenong game where we had lost. Simon was contacted by me a day or two later, and I then had offered my services to Simon's board come on board and maybe help out there if he thought that from what we had spoken about earlier. No, we didn't have a massive conversation about it earlier. It was just a passing comment about possible, jumping on the board. So when I did call him 2 days after, he said, "Look, there's no way we're leaving. You're not required, or we don't need anybody. We're not giving up." And that's it. He's not a quitter. See you later. Now after that, there was a lot of rumblings from members, the sponsors and even past presidents, where they, from my understanding, they've been trying to contact him. He wasn't getting back to people. Maybe the pressure of everything coming on was just playing on everyone's mind, and maybe he needed a little bit of time away, and which is why I would have thought that me coming on board, or some of us maybe coming on board, wouldn't have been a bad thing. We're not here to do anything untoward. We don't make decisions lightly. And we felt that, maybe this is something that we need to be looking at further. So then again, with all the rumblings from our members, sponsors, past presidents, like I said, some of our guys that are in the board now were approached. So, look, is this the time to maybe do something? And look, we sort of said, yeah, look, I think we need to do something. So we'd met and we looked at. We did try to get the Constitution a few times. So we weren't given the Constitution. I was told I wasn't a member, even though I had a member card. I had a member card last year. Being a president of the Croatian Golf Club for the last 10 years before that, or should I say, in the committee of the golf club for the last 20 years, we had always sponsored the Melbourne Knights as a golf club. So we did get a couple of passes for a couple of us. So we were in and out of the club all the time. So anyway, just going back to that, so the people that were talking to us that want to change were just upset with, I think, the whole culture as well, plus where the position of the club was, us floundering, and then getting rid of the coach a few days after that, just made it a crazy period. And again, we asked for the Constitution. We wanted to present something to the board to at least get them to, or it just happened to be me, but to get the board to sit down with all the members and maybe answer some questions on where things were going, where the sponsorship is, again, these rumours about these logo changes that were on the previous board's watch, and then, why the coach was sacked, why the players were injured, and, why we didn't have the money for that kind of thing. There was also a little bit of the juniors talking about, there could have been some of the money from there that had gone into the seniors, maybe. But I believe some of that money that was given to the seniors was part of sponsorship. So please don't think that I'm suggesting anything.
No, because there's obviously people speaking about that particular issue as well. I mean, the juniors, did they have X amount of dollars in an account? I remember 4 or 5 years ago, since I've left Melbourne Knights with my kids, I know there was a significant amount of money in a junior account, and that was still under, I think it was Krešo Mazlak and Paul Jurčić, who managed to scrimp and save from selling basically Chupa Chups and doing the odd barbecue out of Dobson Reserve. It was a very difficult place to make money, and they managed to bank from when I was back then, I think it was well over $100,000.
Yeah.
So that took a very, very long time to save. And
I went to the bank today to sign over all the accounts and everything, and I can tell you that account is less than 10% of that figure now. So, again, we've got to be a bit mindful about divulging everything, but we need to be transparent as well.
Oh, we did have somebody at an audio. There was an audio of the EGM. I think 21-minute audio clip that was being circulated. It came across my emails as well. So, we talk about transparency and things like that. Yeah.
And then again, with all of our members speaking to us about doing something, they obviously knew, because I'd spoken to a few people that I had made contact with both boards. And then they suggested, well, if you've already made some contact, how about you jump on board, and if we'll back you, and if we can do the right thing by the club, let's move forward. So then we were asking for the petition. We didn't get the constitution. We did write up a petition. We did have 75 members. There may have been a couple more on there that weren't members that did sign, and we did have 40 people as well that had heard about it, that weren't at the game, that were prepared to sign it too. There's some debate about how we went and done the petition. Now,
there's definitely debate about what was written on that petition.
Yes.
Can you clarify what was actually written on it?
I wish I had that, but there was, from my understanding, we made a few changes on all of that, and then when we went to the Constitution that we came after, we found out that our petition, regardless of what was written on it, didn't count. So you look at the Constitution, it didn't matter what we gave them, it didn't matter. But we could have given them a picture of Mickey Mouse. They weren't accepting it. So in all of that night that petition went out, that was the South Melbourne game. That was a Friday night. Saturday night, we know that the old board met, and then they had given us, I got a call from Simon, and it wasn't.
So when did you hand the petition over?
Well, the petition hasn't been handed over yet.
Oh, it hasn't been.
No.
Okay,
so this is Saturday night. So we've signed that petition Friday with everybody. Saturday night, the old board has had a meeting. I think it was a good pre-night.
Okay, yeah,
so
for that Oliver tribute thing. Yeah.
So
okay.
that was on the Sunday morning. Saturday night I got from Simon. I don't have to say this, calling us a few names and things like that. But look, I understand when someone's wings have been clipped, that they may not have meant it. But look, you know what?
Things get heated because the club means a lot to a lot of people, and particularly the old board. That they did put it so much effort and so much time.
We're not taking that away from them at all.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I think to say people are being malicious on one side or the other, I think it's a heated topic because people care.
Yep,
and that's absolutely, and that's one of the things that I actually love about what's happening in the community at the moment. And I know some people have played on that whole. We use the word renaissance.
Oh, that's
and that was a big problem. Sorry to cut you off because I just want to clarify a few things. Some people made it about themselves, and it's actually got very. No, it does have a little bit to do with everything. But we talked about, if they watched the pilot episode, we talked about folklore. We talked about, and probably the biggest one was Sunshine Church getting back in the hands of the community. Zorda going back, which was a big thing, I think, because Zorda is Sunshine. They started there, or they being anywhere else just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Grants coming out. Dynamo's getting $6 million to turn it into a beautiful boutique stadium. The fact that 166 paid up members went to an AGM or EGM or SGM or whatever the fuck you want to call it, I don't care. That to me means people care. That means there's a rebirth. That means it's a renaissance. It's not about getting rid of anybody. And like I've had a word to Simon myself and said, like, I love Simon. And I love everything that he's done. And I'll back him in all of his motives. And I think that his heart was within the club. That's not debatable, but people's now saying, oh, you're on this side or that side. It's not it's by the by. There's a problem and it needed to be faced in one way or another. Personally, I wish that the board didn't just step down. I wish that they came up and there was a conversation in an open forum and he went forward that way. That's the way I read the thing and thought it was going to happen. But it didn't happen that way. They stepped down. Obviously, they were angry, whatever. Their reasoning doesn't really matter. It is what it is at the moment. But that's all. I just wanted to clarify something right there.
Can I just sorry, Anthony.
No worries.
So that was the Saturday night. We got a call. Auntie Yudich called us on Sunday morning, and he was appointed as a board or administrator, interim board administrator. He called us and said, Tony, you guys are now in. The old board has resigned. So he'd been on a merged call with Ange Rastov and myself and said, you guys are in. You guys are taking this. We said, no, we're not taking this under these conditions. We expected the old board to call a EGM, SGM, AGM, whatever, to at least listen to what the supporters were asking. It wasn't our intention to just kick him out and go in blind, because that's what effectively happened in the end. So that morning, Sunday, we were told, no, you're in. That's it. They're going to resign. They've resigned. We were just waiting for the official announcement. So we'd spoken to our guys that afternoon. We ended up at Tony Kolchik's house on the Monday, and about approximately 6:30, the notification came through, or the post came through that they resigned. I did speak to Tony Woodich again, or Bugsy, or Ante, and he said, guys, it's up to you now. They're not, they've left. They're not giving you anything. It's up to you guys. He's wanted this. You need to do this now.
Speaking of Ante Juric, I believe he is the Ante that has logged in. Let's just have a look how it works. Ante, are you there, mate? If you can switch on your camera. If it does.
You really want to see my fucking camera? Hang on, mate.
Hey, I reckon he might.
You hear me or not, though?
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you clearly.
Hopefully our guests can also hear you. So if there are any issues
You
there,
don't need my camera because I might get in trouble. I've got a lot of political stuff in my office that doesn't comply to the current republic.
there is a little bit of static on the.
Started off well, but ended up. Yeah.
But how's it coming through for the viewers? How are you hearing the audio? Give us a couple of more lines, aren't there? And we'll see if we can make it.
Yeah, I don't think it's working too well.
No.
I better log out again.
Yeah, you can try
possibly.
that.
Maybe try that
We'll come
again,
back
and we'll
to
try and get you.
No worries.
So yeah, and then in that, so yeah, we've taken everything on board, and phone calls come through. I got to say, Bugsy's been fantastic in accommodating us moving forward, and then meeting with him a number of times, or on the phone. We had a lot of discussion, a bit heated, bit personal, bit everything, but it was robust, and I think we've moved forward from that. We've never had a problem with him either. We've always been to him, and
All of us, or was that? Yeah.
more technical difficulties.
No. Well, we'll keep talking. Sorry, Tony. You keep going.
Yeah, so again, so Tony was for us, and I don't think he was one-sided. Look, I think he sees that maybe something was not right there. Or I shouldn't say not right there. Everything was right. It was just the way the pressure was coming on to everybody for the results, and just I think the community was a little bit lost. To be quite honest.
Oh, I think we're all feeling that, weren't we? I mean, that game, and especially after that South Melbourne loss, and you see, like, we're in real danger of being relegated. And what's worse is you're playing this original derby, and the stands are empty. The stand. Let's face facts. That this was probably the worst attended season ever. I believe in history. I can't see, and I don't remember another season that rivaled this one in the dismal attendances that are out there. Again, not want to blame anyone, don't want to say whose fault it is or something, but people have become disenfranchised with the club. Now, why did they do that? Well, it's by the by, but what became evident is that something had to be done. So in that respect, I understand why you moved in. Again, this is not a jab at the previous board, because I know the previous board personally, and they try their guts out and they work their hearts out. But if you're not engaging with the community, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Something has to be done. Yes.
So that's where we felt part of this thing. But I'll just go back onto the night that we met at Topchic. Everything was posted. We're on. No ifs or buts. We're there now. The next morning, I had a meeting with Monica about some of the grant works that we were doing, and that's when I handed over the petition. So that's Sunday, I believe we got the Constitution. and the Constitution clearly stated that we can't give a petition to anybody. So there's a few things in the Constitution that was set up to protect the club, and I understand that, but there needs to be something there that makes sure that a board coming in or out can't just
pause for the
grass coming through. Is it?
Yeah, the grass. It's a bit of Vienna coming through there as well. Simon's disagreeing with me with the attendances. Sorry, Simon, I love you, mate, but mate, you look at those stands, are empty, man. I don't know. Memberships might have been up, but those stands you saw a lot of red in that grandstand, man.
And then I'll just finish on this point. So again, had the meeting. The petition wasn't accepted by Monica. I actually handed it over to her. She said, "I'm not accepting it. It means nothing to us." And there was at least 3 other members there from the committee that were there. So, or may have been 4. So then I did leave it with her, and I said, "Look, Simon wanted to know when I spoke to Simon on Friday. He wanted to know who the people that signed that petition were." So I left it with him, and then that was the end of that story, I suppose. Yeah, so that all came about.
Could be people listening tonight that may have been long-term members of the club, supporters of the club, etc., that may have moved reasons. It could be just for geographical reasons. You've moved house, you're living in a different area, you can't quite get there. Your kids might be playing at another local club or move to an A-League club, etc., and don't quite get down there. But yeah, we'd love to hear some thoughts on, if you don't attend anymore, why is it that you don't attend? It could be people that once we left the NSL, they said, you know what, that was the pinnacle. We wanted to watch the best soccer in Australia every week. Now we're in an NPL situation. Maybe they stopped for those reasons. Everyone's got their own reasons. There's been a lot of toing and froing I've seen on Twitter. There are people pro the new board, anti the new board. There was even another podcast that went live, I think it was a couple of last week, or when it might have been, where there was some statements made about the new board. It was quite an emotional statement that was made by a particular person. There have been some unsavoury things come out of that as well, some things that have been said or not said. Either way, everyone has their own reasons. The thing is now is, how do we re-engage them? And we've been talking about thinking of something new, something different. You can't just go, here's the product, I'm the new guy and that guy's the new guy, and everyone just jump on board. There needs to be something that's going to get the hook into these, particularly younger people. Younger people. My daughter loves still going. She plays. Well, she just retired from Dynamo at 16, so her career's been cut short by just didn't want to play anymore. But she still enjoys going to nights on a Friday night, obviously catching up with her old teammates where she used to play with. The other kids more skewed towards, probably want to go watch Dynamo on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever. But everyone's got their own reasons. Even with myself, I did speak. I remember, like we were chatting earlier, that Simon, Shima Pincher, did reach out to me once. We did have a conversation, and he asked me, why did you leave the club? So I was pretty happy that he, in his capacity, said, why is it that you've left the club? I've heard all sorts of things, obviously, again, Chinese whispers or whatever, and people's opinion of why I left, etc. And I explained to you quite clearly at the time that my son, who was in the under-12s, didn't have a team to play in. We had to find an alternative. It was a month out from the start of the season, and like 5 other parents from that same team had to go and find somewhere else to play. Then you hear the other things in the background. You never come back. Fuck them. If you leave Melbourne Croatia, you never come back. And I've been in my whole fucking life. I've got the jersey I wore as a 6-year-old in the frame in the room just behind you. My old man was a foundation member. My old man was on the board in the fucking 70s. If you want to turn this shit into a pissing contest, that's what kills me. And these people going, oh, fucking worked on the board for 5 years between 2017 and 2000. Fucking thousands of people have worked in that board for fucking combined thousands of fucking years. Why are you any better or have got more of a fucking stake in what's going on than anyone else? That's what fucking shits me to tears. I walked away from the club 4.5 years ago. I never made one fucking social media post or anything public from the day I left. Not once. Not once did I bag the club. Not once did I fucking put any bullshit on fucking emails or whatever. Nothing. I walked away for a reason. We walked away. We weren't particularly happy as a family there. We moved on. Fantastic. But then some social media comments is fucking horrible. It is absolutely horrible. It does nobody any favors. Not to the person making the fucking statements and not to the people that are fucking receiving the statements in our community overall. When you go on a podcast, this podcast is created to serve the Croatian community, wherever you might be, right? Fucking Melbourne, Sydney, I don't give a shit. To go on a podcast where 95% of the people that are listening hate our guts as a narod, as a club, as a fucking community. They fucking hate us. MPL Victoria. How many people you reckon they love Melbourne Knights? Fuck all. They fucking hate us, and they'll rap to hear this shit when we said them and blacked them or under the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's fucking disgusting. I'm outraged. Oh, that's fucking. And then I've got to listen to Bish.
I can say just on that note that we were in for 6 weeks. Not once did anyone reach out to us to ask our side of the story or any input or anything. They just it would not one person. We were at the club every night. Anyone could have come, and a lot of people did come speak to us. Some of the committee came up to us. The Melbourne Knights board even turned up.
I saw Marta Kovacevic at the victory game. I heard that he was, if anyone knows Marta, he built my parents' house. Old foundation member. Came with Strikoshima Kolchek. Saw him at the game, and I go, oh, I heard you were also at the EGM. I haven't seen this bloke in years. I haven't seen you in that long. But he's re-engaged from years in the wilderness, basically. I don't know when's the last time he went to a Knights game. God almighty, I couldn't believe it. But I was rapt to see him. And that's the sort of people that you want to see back. All right, he's in that older generation. But if he's come back after many, many years in the wilderness, other people, I've now been to the last 2 games. So I went to the Green Gully game and I went to the victory game, and I'll go to Friday night it's Friday, Oakley, 7:30 kickoff. I'll go to that game as well. May not necessarily come back in some formal capacity where I'll bring my kids back to play juniors or whatever it is, but I'll do whatever I possibly can as an individual and as a family to get there, like I said, bums on seats, support, memberships, whatever it might be, just so that the club can get back to normal. I had a lot of phone calls when this was all transpiring. Yeah. Are you going to show up? Are you going to come down, show your face? I don't think I've got that much of a pulling power. I'm not, BTS that's going to pull a crowd just by turning up somewhere. But I felt genuinely welcomed when I came that Friday night when I spoke to you down just in front of the barbecue area. And it was fantastic to be back. Just be that place on a Friday night. You spent your whole life there. Basically, my whole life was spent there. And when people, I did this many years on the fact, I served under Ange Timmer. Ange Timmer was my on the committee. Ante Juric, if we can get him on, hopefully, if it works, he was in that committee. We had Pedro, we had John Narkic. A lot of these people, Mario Sikata. I don't think many of them have been back to the club in a very long time. But it's not about how much did I do, or how much did you do, or how much anybody did. It's how much did everybody do. Everybody. That place didn't just come up from nowhere. Yeah, it's showing a little bit of that disrespect and probably arrogance. I think to say, me. It's not about you, mate. It's about our community and what can we do, whether the attendances are up or down, according to that message.
Simon's adamant, but that's fine. Okay.
There is one thing I'd like to say that look, to this day, we've had very, very, very minimal conversations and dialogue with Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club. They have yesterday sent an email trying to meet, and it's sad that we've got to go through emails. I mean, we've been asking a few things. Not happy with everything that's coming back to us, but we will be meeting maybe this week. If not this week, it'll be next week, because at the moment, as you can appreciate, we've got more pressing things, one pressing thing, and that is working on a reset somehow to beat Oakley this week and stay in the race.
That's the thing.
So when people ask us what our plans are, mate, we're playing a grand final every week until we know that we are. If we know that we are mathematically out and we can't get in, well, then we'll divulge where we think we're going to be next year. But right now, for me to tell you plan A or plan B, and that landscape's changing every day, just with players that have been sick, that have come in, some have injured.
There's only 8 players are training on Friday, I think, before the dinner game. I heard today, something to that effect.
Semi came in and he played a whole game against Victory, or almost the whole game. But he came in with a bit of a package there, and a couple of guys may have caught a bit of a virus or something. Threw us out. He only played half the game yesterday. Some of our new signings, just come back from injury as well. Some haven't played. So look, when you're in the position that you are at the bottom of the ladder, it's not the greatest place to be, obviously. And trying to get the quality and the cattle that you need to get out of some of these places is very hard. I mean, we've got that are on board, but good money is bad on not picking up. The board's not picking up. Just going to make sure that what we're doing is obviously the best thing we can.
So we've got Ante back online. Ante, can we hear you more clearly now, mate?
Yeah, that's better.
That's better. We got you now. There's those dulcet tones. Now that sounds like Bugsy.
Listeners, let us know if you can hear him as well. We can hear him in the studio, but not sure if you can. Just confirm whether you do or don't.
It should be. The volume should be the same. But welcome, Ante Juric, president of AHD. So everyone knows it more affectionately as the Footscray Dom. Has been for a very long time. I did hear some audio from the meeting, and you were, I believe, what was it, holding officer? Is that something, executive officer? Prior, in between, somebody was the interim to get everything sorted, get the meeting online. Legally, you needed to have somebody, and you filled that void. And also, together with Sally or Slavica Zovac, many of you may know, she chaired the meeting basically. Has a very strong legal background, so it was fantastic to see that you guys engaged Sally as well. And
I thought it was pretty funny that one certain podcaster described her as an outsider. And I go, since the Zovacs are outsiders out of the community, I thought that was pretty funny, especially when her son spent 2 years single-handedly doing the night train. But anyway,
that's you there, Bugsy? Tell us your thoughts on how everything's transpired there.
Obviously, when a club's down or losing games, it's like Carlton Football Club. Everybody's unhappy and everybody's got an opinion. And you know what I mean? At the end of the day, what transpired, what was said on that podcast was all bullshit. Because at the end of the day, in my experience in committees and regardless, it's the members own the club. Yeah. Dynamo's owned by its members. All our clubs, whether it be the Dom Melbourne or Wodonga or Ballarat or whatever, we had a similar situation at Ballarat where an idiot tried to take over and sell the land and took out intervention orders against me and Paul Charge. And a similar thing happened where the Constitution was back from 1974, and maybe people don't realise that the Constitution actually said if the club closes that they give the money to the Archdiocese in Zagreb, which we quickly changed because they got plenty of cash. And look, like I said on the night, it was very clear if you were there. Obviously, some people weren't there or they weren't listening and wanted to interpret it their own way. Yes, there is a couple of numerous constitutions, but the issue is what we raised at the time was that as the sitting officer, I asked the members if they wanted the EGM to proceed, and then, look, everybody who was there saw that everybody stood up. Maybe a couple of people, and all people weren't sure or they didn't want to get somebody offside. So 10 people out of 166 didn't stand up. To me, it's pretty clear that the members want to have a move on and have the EGM. Anybody was welcome to run in whatever position they wanted to. And Tony Topchic was in the room with me before the EGM, and I said to Tony, if someone wants to run, they can run. And they all agreed, but obviously no one wanted to, and people had their opinions, and everybody can have their opinions, yeah? But you have an opportunity to run, and you can have an opportunity to run again. You can do a petition too, and they can run against you, Tony, when you drop out. So, but yeah, look, I mean, that podcast, someone gave it to me to listen for about 2-3 minutes, you know. I didn't do any dirty laundry anywhere and nothing. The aim is of the club to try and survive and move forward. And if these guys want to have a go, obviously I can declare I've known that whole board for my whole life. Ante Topchic's dad used to drive me to under nines. So, I mean, and I went to school with Smojka and Omichel played in my under 8s and 9s, and Topchic I've known for a long time. To declare where I'm from Kupras and NDR and recognise these Republicans. But, like, look, at the end of the day, I agree with you, Ante Topchic. You know, why would you go on a shit podcast with people that don't like us and bag the club? Ante Topchic said before, we went on the board, me, Ange, Peter Kosticevic. But the club was bankrupt in 2001. It was completely bankrupt and trading insolvent, yeah? Nowhere did we ever come out and say anything. We settled the bills. We got the NSL was closed down. We had a huge crowd on that Sunday. Sydney Croatia, Melbourne Croatia, 0-0. I remember the game clearly because my mum died on the Friday night before the game. The Monday I was there We counted all the money. We back paid all the old bills, paid all the players out, and settled all the debts. And, people did things there wrong as well. But, no bullshit posts and bag people. And the club moved forward. And look, it went okay there for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with some of the posts. I think the crowds early in the year were good. I think the biggest problem is now is that, I think a couple of Fridays ago we had Dandy City, Strathmore Split, Melbourne Knights and Dinamo all play on a Friday night,
Yep.
And, a lot of people say to us, oh, the Dorm may be quiet on a Friday night when the soccer's on. That Friday, when all those games are all full. So, I mean, our Fridays are hit and miss, but, I mean, look, it comes back to the sense where I think Arthur said it correct. People move. People's kids play elsewhere. My kids played Melbourne Knights girls team, and then the girls team weren't going to have an under 14s. My girls went and played at Dinamo, and they won a championship. So, I mean, it's a Croatian club. I couldn't care less, to be honest. But
Exactly right.
I in my experience in 30 years as a current president of the Dorm and in all the AGMs I went to previous, and we had an AGM in '86 there at the Dorm where there was 400 people, and there was discussions again, constitution, who can run, and one of the members said, let's have a meeting today, put your name up, and we run. And that's what they did. Because at the end of the day, those clubs are owned by its members, whether you like it or not. And, I want to say something because a few people paid their membership that week to come to the AGM. And pay your membership all the time. No memberships are closed, but, we've got to protect our clubs as well from people who want to come in. And Ballarat's a very good example of that, where some people come in, we thought they were doing the right thing, and then we found out from real estate agents they were selling it, And yes, Ballarat has sold a back piece of their land that was rubbish, but, they're okay now. But, I think there was a Croatian club sold up in, where was it, Smolik, up in Queensland?
Not that Dimbula or something like that?
Yeah, they sold that. That was owned by one family. It was 300,000 they sold it for. Yeah. So, I mean, look, a lot of our clubs don't make a lot of money. I know my mates at Concord, it's probably the nicest club I've been to inside, most well designed, but they're finding it pretty tough, and they're getting a couple of thousand a week.
Yeah.
But Sydney's been very different to us because of the rugby league clubs. Yeah, people are used to being members of clubs. In the early '90s, Sydney had 2,000 punch bowl members. We used to have 100. And Melbourne Knights last week at probably one of the biggest AGMs, apart from the one where they wanted us to change the name and the emblem. What do we have? 170 with proxies. And on this proxy thing, you've got to have proxies, man. We've got old people who can and can't come and who can't drive at night, and my man's been a member since 68. He's still going at 85. But, if he can't turn up because he's sick, how do you deny him an opportunity to vote?
That's
Same as some of the old Topchic boys as well,
No worry. All right. Thanks for calling through. Good to see that the Dorm is, as always, supporting not only Melbourne Knights but all the clubs. And we saw you there yesterday as well with Paul Shardish from the Geelong Dorm at the Dinamo Sponsors Lunch with many other people. So it's great to have you on board continuously for how many years now, Melbourne. Ahadeh on pretty much every jersey you see. I've got my blue this one. I've got the old split jersey here underneath. I think the Ahadeh logo's on the sleeve, and it was a Melbourne Tornado when I played there, and it was everywhere. So it was good, but good to get your perspective as well. Good to see that.
Look, it was good yesterday. Dinamo, I think they've done a wonderful job, and I think it shows how much the tourneys have changed, because they were mentioning the last year tourney how good it was. People forget in 2000 we didn't have enough teams.
Yeah.
We actually had the Dorm team play with some broken down hats. So, but it was good, and I think what they're doing there is a good job, and they've done excellent there with Ilya Dragicevic. Well done on the win. Would have liked them to lose so we can move up a bit and they stay in as well, But we'll see how we go. Tony's got a big job. He knows he's got our support, so that's not an issue. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I just think, aren't there, like we discussed even yesterday, it's a members club. If the members want an EGM to go ahead, Would have been worse if I said to the members, we're not having an EGM, I'll appoint my own board. What would be fairer? You know?
That's right.
What would be fairer for the members to say, let's, and like I said, anybody on that night could have ran. Anybody could have put their hand up and said, I want to run for president, or I want to run on the board, and that's happened in the past, you know, and nobody was stopped in doing that. So, you know, Frank Music told us he loved the club. So.
Yes, no, it's all Frank. I've seen Frank over the weekend, but I heard he spoke really well and was quite emotional on the night.
He was,
as well, because that's what that club means. It's more than just a club. It's not your local. Let's go Redbacks. This is a club that represented our people for decades when we had nothing. When you go to school and your teacher would say, "Oh, Croatia's not on this map in the World Atlas in Britannica," you're something else. So that club was a beacon, as was Sydney United, as were all the clubs. But on a national stage, Sydney United and Melbourne Croatia in those days, to see a checkerboard on the back page of Herald Sun, red, white, blue, whoever it was playing, Andrew Marth lifting up the trophy, that was the world to us. Yeah, and now we can't live on that legacy anymore. That's 30 years ago we won the championship. Now 30 years since we won the league in the NSL in Adelaide, and then the following year against Marconi. So we need to start building. One big thing that I've spoken about of recent times, when I was a kid, I didn't give two shits about Maradona or Pele or whoever, Johan Cruyff and all these players. They didn't bother me. Ante Bilavera was my idol, right? Kuljo, Ante Bilavera, the number 5, Melbourne Croatia, Essendon Croatia, who my mum used to sew a number 5. There's no merchandise in those days. She'd sew the number 5 on the back of the skivvy. Now, talking of dinner, my youngest, Tommy, he doesn't talk about it. The older one's got all these stickers of Yamal and Messi and all these other bullshit. For me, Tommy, the best player on earth for him is Oli Dragicevic, who scored yesterday against the Knights. He got a photo with him last Sunday. He thought it was the best day of his life. So he's now got an idol from his local Croatian club, not some fairy tale playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid. So creating idols, not idols, not a religiously correct word, I guess. But you know what I mean? But just having role models at clubs that kids want to wear their number, not some number of some dickhead overseas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So hopefully we can now. There are kids. We've got young Thomas Karlovic. We had little Luka Kolic there. The kids coming through the juniors, who you want your kids who've seen them. They're there with them all on a Friday night, or they see them at training. That's all I want to see on the back of our kids' shirts. And some their names. But speaking of former players, there you go. This is a gift from Tony Topchic. He brought it in tonight as a gift to the Podroom TV. And Mark Viduka, what is it, a 6-inch baby, a model. So we'll see if we can get Mark on the show to put his face to the doll. But Bugsy, thanks very much for calling in, mate. Thanks for.
Can I just make a plug, Smolik?
Go, mate.
20th of July at Sunshine Church. Don Tormamlakic is coming back. We're going to have a lunch for Kupres to build a new altar. So if you can't make it to lunch, you're welcome to make a donation because, everybody sings about us. I think Thompson sang the other day, didn't he? In front of 500,000.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Yeah, I think so, right. Yeah.
Going on, so...
Yeah, and there will be wonderful entertainment there. Won't be Thompson, but will be wonderful nonetheless.
Yeah, congratulations, beautiful. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
No worries, thank you very much, Bugsy. So 20 July, Sunshine Church, fundraise obviously for a new altar in Kupres there. So just again to keep our presence in a part of the world where they are severely under pressure, our people becoming a minority by the day, more and more so. So if you can get down there, help get something.
I know, so you're talking about Ante Bilavera and you're getting like really excited about when you play. I get really excited when he's going to cook a pecker these days. I'll tell you what. So they can tell from my athletic.
I did have one interesting question that did come through. So I'm not sure what's the protocol. Do we name names or not? You know who you are, so it came through on text. So.
Yeah, and you know what? They didn't want to give him too much limelight because it places importance on something that's pretty unimportant. The only thing that was important was that you're blighting the name of the club. In a forum that's not really welcoming to our community and couldn't really give a rat's ass about us. So that's where it comes down to. And
the question that came through: social club, or Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club memberships. Why is it hard? Says here, why is it hard to get membership at Melbourne Croatia Social Club? So you guys are closer to the flame. I spoke with some people, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, and they said that they'd approached them and were knocked back. And these are old Melbourne Croatia people as well, grandparents were foundation members, and now they're looking for memberships for their kids, and they were knocked back. I was going to potentially go in there, and I go, probably not. Don't rock the boat. I'll just let it go. So, is it difficult to get a social club membership at the moment?
I can't really answer that. We know some of our guys may have tried to get our membership, but you got to understand how the place is set up, and like Bugsy was saying. Excuse me, we don't want to open that up to anybody. to come in and do whatever they want with the land. So,
Yeah, of course.
I don't understand fully the constitution of Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club, and I won't say that I know anything about the structure of it. Excuse me. So
But if there is anyone that can clarify on the live chat, I'm saying, what are you watching this for? Is that the Facebook one?
No, this is I'm going from YouTube to Facebook trying to see the comments.
But if anyone
They
knows,
said, Ante Beloved, the original minister obrane. Yeah,
oh,
well,
mate, he was the shadow minister and he was everything. That bloke, he was Gary Ward. My sister used to have Gary Ward's name printed on those old red windsheeters. Mirko Runja and Gary Ward and Croatia on the back. It was done at the local sports store there in Faulkner. Other than that, what else we haven't covered? We've gone. Look, we're only meant to go for an hour. It's almost 9:30. You're right to still keep going?
Oh, yeah, the pizza's gone cold.
That's all right.
Make it away. A bit of a background just on the other board members. So we've got Tony Culture here. Many of you know.
Yeah, we've got Tony Culture here, Vice President Extraordinaire, who's been at the club. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but you were the women's coach there. You were the goalkeeper in the early days. You played all your juniors. You played one game more than some of our friends. How many games did you play? Just one. One game. That's all he's played. So, I think we spoke about this the other day. Rob Chalner, one game as well. Yeah. So there's a few of them.
Bayer, there you go.
Yeah, but Bayer's not on the board, but maybe next year.
See if you can snag him across.
Milan Sucic, our brains trust. I think anything with statistics, anything with he's our rain man.
That's good.
Just don't drop the toothpicks down. No, it'll be a problem. Steve Ormichel, previous board member as well, treasurer. You said, did you work with Steve any previous time?
Steve, no, but it's a face that everyone knows. You know what I mean? It's one of those quite unassuming blokes that you walk past and you go, geez, I've been seeing this guy out even on the Quarry Hill back with the old, that crew that used to hang out there. 1976, there you go.
All right, Rob Bannart's good football brain as well. John Urat's good football brain. Anne Trestov, business development manager, I think was fantastic. Tony Voyage, Chief Operations Officer or something, I think.
St Andrews Hotel, we'll give them a plug, the old pump house.
Yep.
We'll get down there.
Well, he was the first one to back us, we just an idea.
He was,
Asked him a question and he was more than happy to back us.
He did tell me today to make sure to tell you that he's going to be the major sponsor for the rest
I think we've still got the old signs. I don't know if we left them there at Football Nation
Good on
Radio.
you, Tony. Well done. We need the money, but just go piss it around. John Smallcore, what a brain. This guy's going to be good for us. And David Dragovic, who was the treasurer last year, that probably didn't have access to as much information as he should have, has full access to everything now. So that's giving us a clearer picture of what's going on. Exceptional human. Really,
and he's worked a lot behind the scenes, I think, setting up all of those, how the finances work, probably Square Tap and go and all that sort of stuff. So he's got a little bit of an idea.
Look, we've moved on. I mean, when I say we've moved on, we've all moved on from what our parents had started and how they were running finances and even the raffles and how they would cash money in and things like that. We live in the information age. There's a lot of information out there. Let's capture that and let's see what we can do with that. So David's been great with all sorts of statistics on the juniors, where our monies should be going, where our shortfalls are. And just all of that. I mean, I don't really want to talk about all the financials. That's a bit of IP for the club. If you want to know about any of that, join up as a member and come to the AGM. You can ask whatever questions you want, and you can take the financials home maybe this year. So that'll be.
We did get a message here for the social club. It gets done at the AGM. So I'm assuming that's the memberships can get done at the AGM. I'm not sure how that works, whether or not you sign up on the day and you have voting rights, or if you sign up on the day and you have to wait X amount of years, etc. Again, but if with that, not knowing too much about the constitution of the social club, because the two entities were split a while back, the Knights and Melbourne Croatia, to obviously save the land at the time, because the drain, like when Bugsy was saying, when we were on the committee at the Knights, I think our interest repayments were $11,000 and wages at the time were about $11,000. So we had to find $22,000 net, I think it was per month, just to break even. and you hope to God that you get 4,000 or 5,000 people against Parramatta Power or bloody Northern Spirit or whoever it was. And then that was reduced by about 300,000 that first year. I offered my services even to the new board that came in, Peter Butler and the like. I still worked. I remember we closed the Quarry Hill Bar at that time, but still worked with Stipe Dragovic downstairs. The current, or the more recent board, Spolge and I, spent a fair bit of time on the night train, which we enjoyed more than anything, I think, with very little preparation, very little background in media or anything. Every Monday night, we'd rock up straight from work or whatever, and we'd do whatever we possibly could. And we found Luciano Stolica, who I mentioned earlier, he heard a song on the night train, I think, that I sang once upon a time. He came to that following game. He hadn't been in a long time, and now his kids are there. He's sponsoring the club. He's back. He's another iconic family of that club. He's our man. Everyone knows Mr. Stolica, mate. When we beat we relegated Just from the NSL in 1989-90. And if you watch the footage of the second goal, he does a somersault. He does a forward roll as a marshal behind Zoran Nikitovic. It's like I kind of watched it a million times, I reckon. But again, it's those sorts of things, if we can do anything to encourage people back that may not have been there. But like I said, night train for us, that's another one that may have passed under, or it's probably been forgotten a little bit.
Oh, that was a tough job, wasn't it? Sitting there for an hour and talking about the night. So
absolutely,
it was tough.
Loved
really
it.
tough.
Had some tough guests. We didn't really want to talk too much. Tommy Cummings we spoke for an hour before, spoke for an hour afterwards, and he gave us yes, no answers for an hour on the show. He said nothing. But he did tell some funny stories about getting some land in Keilor from Frank Budding, and that was his transfer, and it fell through. But with the night train, we loved it. We were restricted in what we were able to say. Obviously, it was very much a night's show, but again, some of the behaviours, like at the time when we did pull the pin, I just said I didn't have time, personal reasons, etc. Not really. We were treated like absolute garbage. Treated like garbage. I'm a relatives being labelled Governor. I had Rob called Hugo, Governor, from individuals that know who they are. One in particular. You got called a moron, I think. We got bagged for reading out Mickey Cholina's statement, which was just thanking the members and staff and that. And we got hauled over the coals for that. So eventually it sort of just petered out, and again you just lose that flow, that passion, and that passion is like it's still a pilot in there, but this last week or 2 weeks I think it totally reignites, and with a lot of people out there resonates, and they get back there, and I just come on a Friday night, grab a roll, have a beer, catch up with your mates. Snap pack 20, pinched from Noble Park. Was it Noble Park? Drina, is that the ones that they're saying? Our neighbours from the east claim that Knight stole the idea of that snack pack with from them.
Yeah, well, we're all just Catholic Serbs anyway, aren't we?
That was a fair trade. They've been stealing our history for a better part of 100 years, so we will steal their snack pack.
But just talk about the few. I mean, look, you've come on. You're obviously passionate. You wouldn't have done this and suffered some of the vitriol that you have, and some of the praise that you have as well. And that's happening as we speak. Some people defending, some people praising. And that might continue for a little while yet. But without going into a full-on business plan, I mean, what's the future of this club? Because in a business sense, soccer clubs just make 0 sense. You're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've heard that some clubs in the NPL are spending in excess of $1 million to win, 25 grand? Now, Well,
look, it's taking us. It's taking it on average $1 million a year is what you need to run, and you've only got 13 home games. Whatever you can get from the sponsors, obviously all helps. But the membership is what we need. In our current position now, we need members. We need money. We do need money. That's the bottom line. We don't have any money, so I don't know. My question would be to the old board is, what did they have planned once the transfer period opened? How are they going to do the rest of the year? How are they going to fund it? What sponsors did they have in the background? If they had any of that, that information hasn't been given to us. So we don't know what their intention was. I mean, if I go back to to understanding how we got on board and what their purposes were, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you just leave the club as it is and not give anybody anything moving forward? So we didn't have any of that. So in that sense, getting the money is going to be what's going to drive us to provide for the next few years. And we need the juniors there. Our juniors program needs to be top notch. So there may be some announcements made in the next few weeks. And just I did forget to mention Nicholas Butchich, who is our junior committee representative. So he's working on there. The juniors are getting their committee back. They've got their account back as well from next year. So the juniors are an important part. Again, what our plans are, we may have to disclose our plans next Monday once we know we're out of this run to stay into the league. If we're relegated, well, we know what we're doing from there. We're trying to survive next year. Where's the money going to come from?
Exactly.
It's going to be harder.
Yeah, it's a long-term project, but
yeah.
the circumstances at the moment are almost forcing your hand to think short-term because it's so important, obviously, NPL
Well, like I said
survival.
before, every game's a grand final. If we win this week, we win next week, the week after, and we've got a game in hand. So if we can win the next 5 games and somehow have a massive game against Altona
in the last round.
The last round, and we, a dream would be to win by the goal in the 90th minute, and we get through. I mean, that we've done that before against Dandy City, I believe.
Yes, yeah, and there was a playoff for Bob Jane. It was a 3-2, I think.
So it's a bit hard to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do. We're here with the right intentions. The guys that are here are the right people that are going to move the club forward. The stranglehold that the previous club was under is something that needs to be removed, I think, and we need to be, as a club, free, not controlled, and have everybody back there who wants to be back there. I'm not saying taking people from Dinamo. I think what Dinamo done yesterday was fucking fantastic. We went to Dandy City the week before. They had their Bill and Orch. Fantastic. Got to meet Ivan, got to meet Tony Dorotic, got to met Bertel before that, but we got to meet a few people there. Wonderful. They got it. I think they're supporting us as well, and they've openly said that. Yeah. So, Ilya's crew yesterday and even the last 6 weeks have been fantastic at Dinamo. Unbelievable. The Strathmore boys, great. Geelong boys, Tormore, and their crew, fantastic. Wednesday nights boys, brilliant.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see this go forward. How we make this go forward may include some of the things that these guys want to see at the club too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tournaments, nights, making sure that we don't have the games on the same night, so everyone's working. I mean, ideally, I'd love to see if we could stay in. This is I don't know how this is going to work, but we spoke to Football Victoria yesterday at Dinamo, and now if we can do a double header 3 times in a year, if the Knights can stay in, for example, Melbourne Knights versus Dandy City at the Knights, Dinamo at home versus Green Gully. Dinamo jumps over to our ground. We have a double header. Then Dinamo plays Dandy City. We play Green Gully. We go to Dinamo and have a double header there. And swapping years, Melbourne Knights against Dandy City, and then Dinamo at home to Dandy Thunder. We go have a double header at Dandy, and then vice versa with swapping the nights.
Double headers are a thing of the past, but they used to be fantastic.
If we can do that, everybody's there. Everyone's supporting that club for that day, and the community's back.
Yeah.
Then you are getting the 2,000, 3,000 people that were at Dinamo last night.
Yeah.
And everyone can help them. They get the gate. They get all the profits, everything. We come over here. We help each other. We go to Dandy. We help each other. And if we can do something with Geelong as well, that needs to be looked at too.
Yeah. We're all tapping into the same market.
Yeah.
And we just need to work together and do it smarter, and everyone can benefit at the end of the day. And then passing over of intellectual property. Not going to give all your secrets away.
No,
but just helping out. We made this much yesterday. We had a junior gala day. We had 3,000 people come through the doors. That's what we spent on bought alcohol, soft drink, sold this many coffees, that many rolls, and you pass it on to the next club if they're doing it in 2 weeks' time or a month's time. They often have those junior gala days. Yeah. Talk to each other. Easy. You just tell them, mate, we sold 800 rolls. So you know what to prepare for next week. If you don't know, you don't know. And then you're stuffed on the day. It's a disaster.
Yeah, you're in demand, you're understaffed.
Yeah. Other than that, Spolge, because I'm getting almost a wrap up from upstairs.
I don't really know what's happening.
The broom has been smashed on the floorboards. But
look, can I just say, look, we are in a very unsavoury position. Let's say we do need members. The club does need money. This is a call to arms for everybody to do something to help us now, right? So we've had a lot of guys that have offered money to put into our account to keep the club running and everything like that. So we can't rely just on the INDs. They've been fantastic. How much INDs done for a community? I don't think any other Croatian has done that.
No.
So Ivan and Carter, thank you all very much. I mean, from all of us. We've got another sponsor, Tom said Asphalt. He's helped us with goods in kind. There are others there that have helped too. So for us, they are important, but our members and people turning up to the games and digging now to save our club is what we're about. We do not have the funds that people think we do. This wasn't about taking the club over and, we got X amount of hundreds, thousands of dollars and putting good money into bad decisions. It's not about that. It's about this has to be back to the community. It all has to be together.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we should be infighting amongst ourselves too.
And with the capital works, all as changes that have happened around the club, the asphalting, like you said, a lot of people probably wouldn't know you were heavily involved in those, in that as well. So it's not like you've just come in and go, all right, now we're the new board that was, you sort of take the limelight and say, and you were physically involved in that whole process.
I've been
as well,
involved with any types of works there for the last, I'd say, 15 years as well.
And a big shout out, Matty Sakic and Evolution Electrical. They're working with, were they there today? I believe it was today.
They were fixing up that light.
The light tower that's been on the blink a little bit, so hopefully we've gotten all that sorted. But again, a great contributor. And
I've got to say, Dougie's helped with that too from the
Doug Gilamanovich as well. Yep. There you go, fantastic. Shout out to everyone that's helping out and getting that sorted.
So anyone that thought that was a conspiracy theory,
there was that as well. Again, on Twitter, it came up. It was miraculous that the lights are back on, and all of a sudden, how is it that the lights are going off? And
can I just say on that the referee did agree to play the game with that light tower out. So
still enough lumens there.
But it was switched on.
There's going to be more than Port Melbourne's, that's for sure.
They got the headlights in the car park onto the ground, mate, like in the old days. That's Bulger. What else is there?
Well, look, I mean, a lot of people are bringing up Preston as an example of things happening, and then they were saying, oh, the same thing can happen here that happened to Preston, that they won the championship back in 2007 and then basically went off into, virtual obscurity for many years. But then obviously they rose, and we know what's happened with Preston as well. But Preston was in State League 1 and they were getting 1,000, 1,500 people. Was that because of the scintillating football in State 1 and in VPL 2 or whatever it was, MPL 3 at that time? I don't think they were getting those crowds because everyone was wowed by the football Preston were playing. They fixed their community, and that was the whole thing. And it wasn't just Preston that was rejuvenated. Even Masso nights were rejuvenated, where they would get 1,500 people out to their discos or whatever you want to call it.
Did you guys play there?
We're not, they're not for us anyway. But anyway, but that was the whole thing. But there's been a lot of negativity around our community in recent years. You can't help but bring up Sunshine Church and everything that happened there, and little squabbles here and there and that. But we need to fix our community, and once we fix it, and I think that's happening. That's really happening. Not just at the Knights. I think in general, that's what we talk about, that whole rejuvenation and that whole renaissance. And that's what's happening in there. And you can see that within the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we'll become a healthy club. And whether the Knights get relegated, I hope to God not. But whether we do, I can't see why we can't win the championship in 5 years if they're a club, because we're a monster of a club. We just need to reignite the community and get everyone back involved and just motivated and loving it. And and when all the clubs work together, they're so much stronger. You talked about that. Dynamo's stronger because they work with everyone, with the other clubs and so on and so forth. The Knights will be stronger as well when they're working with other clubs, because that's the whole community. I'm sick and tired of, I'm a Dynamo person, this one's a Knights person, this one's a Pite Boga person. Everybody's a Knights person. There was 4,000 people at every game. You'd play Newcastle Breakers back in the day, playing some shit. You could play Canberra Cosmos. There was 3,500 people back in the day because everyone loved Melbourne, Croatia. Whether you're from Dandy, whether you're from Dynamo, that whole outer, half that outer were Dynamo people. Behind the goals were all Dandy or Chelsea people at that time. How many people came, busloads literally came from North Geelong or from Geelong, in general, because everybody's a Knights person. They might not be they might not like certain people there, or you might not like that, but that's where we've got to reignite that and see the club for what it is. That it doesn't belong to any person or groups or whatever. And I think that's possible. That's possible. And sometimes you've got to take a backward step to go forwards.
Yeah, and that word, I think you use a sister club. That's another sticking point for me. When we were on the night train, we were chastised for using the term sister club.
Yeah, we're the mother club.
So sister club, not the redheaded stepchildren. I don't know. This is Serbia. You know what I mean? Can't say sister club. Then later you can, and then you can't. I don't even know. But again, we need to shake that legacy and say that we were the biggest. We're by far, Melbourne Crows was the biggest club in this country, let alone in our community. But in those days, you were in NPL. There was a bit of a pecking order. You were A-League, NSL, then it went down VPL and all the way down through to amateurs and Tottenham Zagreb and whoever else. So it was a pyramid. Now, you've come down a notch, and it's been 20 years since 2005, since the A-League was introduced. 20 years you've been in the same league with Dinham, with Dandy, a lot of the time with North Geelong.
Yeah.
Okay, the past is the past. We love it, we respect it, etc. But we need to look forward and not hang too much on that, live off that legacy, because that legacy now, living off that legacy is why we're here today.
Yeah.
Because we go, look how good I want it. We can get to some point where it can be 10 times better than what it is now. But we just need to, like I said, work together. They are sister clubs. They are our clubs. Half the people that go there as well. Engage. And the best thing that I saw when I was at that Green Gully game, sitting in one of the corporate boxes, Tony was walking the length and breadth of those corporate boxes, shaking hands with the people, the ones that he knew and the ones that he didn't know. He introduced himself. Just put a face. People go, oh, I've heard the name Topchic, or I've seen him around. I think I know the face and all that. So he physically went around, shook hands, kissed babies, whatever you had to do, because that's what you need to do. You need to engage. You need to speak. You need to, and like you said before, you're probably a very good, I find that's one of my strengths as well, is if you don't know the answer, don't pravit there like you're going to get the answer. Find somebody as quickly as you can that does have the answer. You need to find, and that's where you need that network of people. You need that charisma. You need that, whatever it is, intellect, to be able to ring someone and go, listen, I can try and fix this, but I'll fuck it up and it'll be 10 times worse. So that's what I always do. I mean, I fix that door. I go, I'm not a carpenter. But finding the right people to do it, rather than just saying, I'm going to fucking do it all myself. Yeah, because when you walk into a room, you might be the smartest person in that room, but it's the perception of those people in that room when they leave. What did they think of you? Were you a gentleman, or you're Pametnjakovic and they don't want to go fucking nowhere near you for the rest of their days? Yeah, that's the difference as well. And I can see that you're definitely putting in all the effort to get your name out there. We've got you on the show tonight, so hopefully for those of you that didn't know Tony or have known him in passing, etc., we're backing you. We've 100% want to see success, and we believe with the people that you've got around you and all the support that you're getting from the wider community as well, from what I'm seeing, and your engagement. All of you guys, engagement, Dandy City, Villanovic, Dinamo yesterday, wherever it might be. You're out there, you're talking to people that hopefully was all positive yesterday as well, the people that would have come over to chat to you. But we're all wrapped from a community perspective that finally there's a bit of movement. Well done to the previous board and all boards that have worked there and toiled hard, but we need to move on. Something needs to give. And whether that's on the football field, getting relegated is not going to be the worst thing in the world. It's how we respond as a community and get behind the club and sort out what I believe. I sincerely believe there are significant cultural problems at that club, from the juniors all the way down and up, sideways, whichever way. Serious cultural problems. Asphalting the car park only can cover some certain amount of cracks. It's got to be probably a grassroots, from the bottom up, try and get everything sorted, bringing in the right people if you need to. And hopefully it'll all pick up from there, and we'll back you 150% every day of the week.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming in and joining in and listening to our first podcast and our last podcast, ladies and gentlemen. No, we promise that the next one, or the ones in future, will be a lot more lighthearted, I hope. But, it just happened to be that when we decided to come back in, this was the most topical thing, and people have strong opinions. But we're more than happy to hear your opinions, as long as they're respectful and not some idiotic ones that I've been reading tonight. But thanks anyway.
Yeah, so, jump on our socials, have a look. There was plenty of things coming through on the feeds. I don't even know if it was on YouTube or whatever, so have a read. There is some things that you may not agree with or disagree with, but it is a platform for you to voice your opinions. That's what we're here for. We're not here to cut anyone off. Like I invited earlier today, anyone and anyone that wants to jump on and say something, you're invited. I can see there, but Bugs is now gone. There is someone else. They might have logged into that link that I sent earlier, thinking they're logging into the actual stream rather than logging in as a contributor. But like I said, could jump on.
They'll be as tech savvy as we are.
That's right. And then you've got plenty of messages coming from all over. Damien Maverick says, let Topchic know his old next door neighbour wishes him and his committee all the very best. So the mobbers, they're Dynamo born and bred, but Damien did play for Melbourne Knights as well once upon a time. So there's always been that crossover. And 99% of the time that crossover was with the best intentions. We used to get the Kerliches from Dynamo and the Ollie Pondeljaks, and then a lot of the Knights boys, if they didn't make seniors, vice versa, would go across. Marty Rasputic, who's been bagging me out all week on a video that has leaked of me slipping over at a junior game. Again, Knights boy coach, the captain has been a Dynamo ever since. So there's always that. There's the rivalry, there's the banter, but there's also that brotherhood between clubs that we really need to nurture. And like I said, everybody wins at the end of the day.
Look, we really feel this is the best opportunity now to, under the circumstances, to get behind us and make this all work.
Yep. Really. So bums on seats. Friday night, 7:30 kickoff, Summer Street. Catch up our game against Oakley. They had 2 losses on the trot. Now they've come back and got a couple as well. So they're sort of in and out of form. Can the Knights pull it off? I wouldn't say the impossible, because Dynamo beat them not too long ago as well, a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? Knocked them off twice this season. Dynamo's actually beaten Oakley. So let's hope Knights can get the job done. Let's hope those teams that are above us keep. Well, they've got a pretty tough run. Altona, Magic, Port Melbourne. They've got a really horror run. And you get the 3 points on the weekend. You jump from last to third last. And if Altona lose, you're only 5 points, I believe, behind. And like I said, if it comes down, Dave Borgia, imagine it comes down. Hopefully it comes down. It doesn't come down to the last game. We're already safe by then. But if it comes down to that last game against Altona, last round, could be third last, fourth last, whatever the ladder standings are at that time, could be a big one. But we'll start with this Friday. Everybody get down. Saki
one at a time.
Dougie the Dougs have sorted out the light situation. The lights will be on. The snack packs will be ready to go. Grab yourself a drink, catch up with mates, reignite that passion if you have lost it over the years. Why not, man? What else are you going to do on a Friday? I went to Carlton Collingwood on Friday.
What else we can do?
Garbage. Oh, the worst. I just wanted to first quarter on to go home. And I'm out for Collingwood. No win. Terrible. You don't know anyone there, man. It's 100,000 people. You are just a number.
Yeah.
You come to our clubs, you are a member of the family. That's ours. Everyone there. You get my kids are safe there because I know when they run outside, everyone knows who they are and knows who to call. You lose your kid at the footy there, you've got luck and orch, mate. There, a statistic. So get down there Friday, 7:30. Yeah, should be a fantastic game. Hopefully the boys are up for it. They get over their illnesses and injuries, and do what you can to support our club. It is our club.
It's your club.
That's right.
It's your club.
Our city, our club. All used to be the old slogan, but either way, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Tony Topchic. You were our first guest. We did wait a little bit longer than what we were expecting in terms of starting the podcast, but we really wanted to get Tony on the show so that he can have his say. We get it from the horse's mouth. You can get all the Chinese whispers you want over the last month and 2 weeks, etc., getting emails and from all sides. Yeah, we've invited him in. If anyone wants to have a counter say, there have been people obviously that have been not agreeing with either us or Tony during tonight's podcast. It's
your program.
Flick us an email, PodroomTV@gmail.com. Flick the email. We'll send you the link. You want to be a guest for the whole? You want to come here? Yeah. There's still some pizza left over. We haven't even eaten it. Thank you, Mark and Millie. Jump on board. That's what we're here for. So we'll announce our guests for hopefully for next week. And in the future weeks coming up as well, we'll do our very, very best. But once again, thank you to Tony, the two Tonys that have come here tonight. And what I'll do after the show, I'll do a quick, just like a scroll through Instagram. We hit 500 followers. Put up that thing saying someone will get a prize, and I've got a few bits and bobs under here in the folder I'll be able to send out to you if you're not in Melbourne interstate. But please join us, like, share, get on board, subscribe. Friday night down at the Knights. It's the biggest ticket in town for this weekend, but all our other clubs might be playing Saturdays, Sundays, whatever it was. Get behind them. It's $15, $20 to get in goes a long way. You do that every week for 26 weeks, or you buy a membership, the club survives. Yeah, together with our sponsors and together with the hard work being done with the management of the club, etc. Get on board. But we wish Tony and his board the very, very best of luck. I'm back. Oh, you got me back. Spolge, yes, Spolge has been a member and have been probably the more games than I have in the past number of years.
I kept buying memberships. I kept going.
I can proudly say, if you watch back the highlights from the Melbourne victory game where Knights got over the line with that last minute penalty, it was me that started that Croatia chant at the end. You can hear it clearly. You can clearly hear my dulcet tones. So it was good to just get that one out after a very, very long time because, like I said, we grew up at that club. That's all I knew for pretty much all my life. I'm a one-dimensional character, and my whole life was based on Melbourne Knights, Malcolm Crozier as a junior and as a all the way through. And thanks to everyone that's contributed to the club getting to where it is today. And now let's look to the future, get behind these boys and girls, and get what we can, as much as we can behind them, as often as we can.
Let's make Croatia great again.
That's right. Time's up. Croatia's back.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Like the Knights.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
All the best.